Welcome to Fandom Post Radio. I am Kestrel. We have Cain.
Hello, hello.
We have Brandon.
What up, y'all? What up?
And we have DJ.
That is me. Hello.
Even though you're always here, I'm considering you a special guest because it's impossible to get in contact with you.
It's not impossible. It's just becoming increasingly difficult.
Yeah.
The key is just to spam the private chat.
I guess,
Just keep spamming it.
Yeah. So we are finally talking about our top anime of 2021. We're almost 2/3 of the way through January, but it's kind of appropriate because the Crunchyroll Anime Award nominees just came out today, so I guess it's a good time to be reflecting back on last year. So we're going to go through our our bottom fives relatively quickly, and then we're going to talk about our 1 through 5 in a little more detail. So, Cain, why don't you start us off with your 10 through 6?
Sure. So, I'm glad we're spending only a little bit of time on these, because, I mean, normally for me it's not hard to make a 10 because I only watch about 13 or 14 things a year, but this year was particularly hard to get stuff to really want to dig into. So my number 10 is a case study of Vanitas. The only thing I really have to say about it is the premise was cool, the world building was cool, I just didn't like the sexual assault stuff, and at least in my mind, there are better ways to show that your good guy is not really all that good. Like, for me personally, without it just resorting to stuff like that. Like, there are plenty of other ways. Number 9 is Way of the House Husband. This is one of the only comedy shows, I know we talk about it frequently, that has one gag or one gimmick, and it grows tiresome. Like Sleepy Princess and Uramichi had a similar theme in terms of like one overarching sort of joke style, but those didn't get old. Unfortunately, Way of the House Husband does for me. The whole Yakuza fish out of water. It was fun the first season, and the second season I was like, okay, I get it. He likes cooking and shit. And I like the Yakuza games, and even I was like, okay, I'm done with this, but it was fine. Number 8 is Blue Period, which we've talked about a few times. Really strong character writing, good ending, and the art that they paint in the show and stuff is good, but unfortunately the art of the show itself is not good, which holds it back. Let's see, 7 is Moriarty. I put 2 here because I guess it was the second season, technically. This is starting to get in the part where I could talk about them more, but I don't. It was harder a little bit. But Moriarty is great in how ridiculous it is. I wish the ending was a little bit different in terms of everyone turning against Moriarty. I just wanted to see the poor demolish the rich, was what I really wanted to see. And instead, the end kind of doesn't do that as much, but still a lot of fun. And then 6 is Megalobox 2 Nomad. And the fucking only bad thing I have to say about this show is I wish we would have gotten more Chief. I wanted more Chief because he was cool. But other than that, it was great. Fantastic sports show. But that was my 10 through 6.
Now, The Way of the House Husband isn't particularly animated, correct?
Pretty much. It's like a motion comic, but sometimes it does like more animation, just depending on what the theme of that particular little like skit is. There are some where nobody moves at all, and there are other ones where like the characters will be bouncing all over because they're like running through the street or like in a misunderstanding or something like that. So they're running through the street and like throwing eggs at each other and shit. But yeah, it's more, I would classify it more as a motion comic or motion manga in this case than a true animated show, but
I'd say
it's animated enough to count.
I'd say the voice acting carries it enough, and like they're short enough episodes too that it doesn't get in the way too much.
Yeah, I agree with that. The voice acting is good, especially whoever plays the main character guy. He has that like gruff Yakuza voice down perfectly. Like that kind of slurred, arrogant, gruff voice going on the whole time. That's great. Yeah. So I would agree there.
Kenshiro Suda plays the lead in that, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, correct. It's like the
I knew
perfect
Brandon would
casting.
know. Yeah. He has been in a ton of stuff for 20 plus years now. But I feel like in the past year or two, he has just been in every single anime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's in one this season, and I think I picked out his voice, which rarely happens.
Mm-hmm.
But he was in one this season that I watched, and I was like, where do I know that from? And I guess, it would be Way of the House Husband at first thought, because it's what's freshest in my memory.
Yeah, very distinctive voice.
Yeah, he's definitely good at playing, like, thuggish characters.
Right. All right. Brandon, how about yours?
Yeah, so felt like the top half of the top 10 was harder because I felt like 2021 was very much like a very good year for good anime, but like not too many were like great or like masterpieces in my mind. So like the like top half was like way harder to put out. So I'm just gonna go with what I put on the list because I can't keep changing my mind about things. But so at number 10 I had Odd Taxi, which I think based on like the writing and the narrative alone, it should be higher, but I just have like shows that I just think are more entertaining. But I still think that the show was like so consistently engaging and the plot was very tightly written, and it's one of few like mystery thriller shows that really had a satisfactory ending, which like is so hard to pull off with that genre. So I ended up really enjoying it all the way through. So that's my number 10. Number 9, on a completely different note, Hanma Baki, Son of Ogre. The newest,
shit.
Yeah, dude. The newest Baki season. It was, I think, above, like far and beyond better than the last season, which was like a really bad tournament arc with a very unsatisfying ending. But like this just turned up all the ridiculousness of Baki and all the like crazy hype and dumb shit about it. Just like, I don't know. I love this series just for how big and dumb it is. And this is probably my favorite season of Baki so far. So very entertaining, very concise. And usually that show has like some weird production things and like strange 3D choices, but overall it looked pretty consistent. Yeah, it looks okay this time around. But yeah. So at number 8, I have Nomad Megalobox 2, which I'm surprised it's this high up, but there's a lot of good contenders this year. But I honestly think Nomad was a rare case of a sequel outshining its predecessor, because I thought the theming was way more like cohesive for this season. I really loved the like Hispanic influence on the characters and the setting and the music. And I thought it also tied in very importantly to one of the main themes of the season, which was like the importance of family and having a place to call home and like, you know, finding redemption in that when you're at like your bottom. And it was nice that the actual sport of Megalobox kind of took a back seat to things like drug addiction and like all these other like very intense themes. So I was very impressed with it. The score is amazing as usual, and it was able to like get its story all together much better than the first season in my opinion. So that's number 8. Number 7, I put Heike Monogatari, which I would say this show is very, very beautifully made. And even though my Japanese history is very lacking, I don't really understand very much about it, or like keeping track of the names when I'm not watching like every week was very difficult. But Naoko Yamada as a director and at Science Saru just seemed like a match made in heaven, and they really made it like one of the most visually stunning shows I saw last year. And yeah, I think just on that alone and like the emotions portrayed by the characters, very well done, and overall just like it's hard to say anything else about it besides that it's just a beautiful show. Beautiful, so much good Sakuga shots. But and then my number 6, funny enough, is part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. I'm really enjoying the Jolene arc. I think the change in pace with like a mostly female cast is really fun and wild, and all the stands so far have been as creative as they have been the last like 2 parts. I feel like Araki really like found his groove around part 4 and on. But my one issue, which is why this probably wouldn't be higher, is that like the Netflix binge model really kind of is killing this show, because I feel like part of the magic of JoJo's was having JoJo Fridays, and like every week everyone gets to go crazy about the episode, and now it's just like all these characters that are like one-off little fights just kind of get put on the back burner because like everyone flew through the show in like a week, and we don't really get to enjoy those like the battle against Gwess or like specific characters. They just like, I don't know, it's all part of this big content binge stuff that's really, I think, in my opinion, killing a lot of the hype for certain shows, and Stone Ocean is an exemplar of that. But yeah, that's my 10 through 6.
Yeah, I remember shitting on Baki when it first came out real hard on this podcast, actually, because it had such terrible CG. Like, really, I don't know if you've ever gone back and watched that.
Yeah, or are you did you watch the OGs, or like did you watch the one that when it came on Netflix?
Came on Netflix. Like, I haven't seen the OGs.
Yeah, that's where I started as well, and yeah, that season did have like lots of rough CG. Like,
really bad, and it didn't make sense where it sat. Like sometimes a character would be hand drawn, and then they from the back view, and then they turn around and they turn in CG as they turned around to face you, like to face the camera, which made no sense.
Yeah,
but I've really grown to like it as well. My brother and I watch it. We haven't watched this new season yet because we've just been busy every weekend, so a premium has been put on stuff like Ranking of Kings and whatever. But
oh yeah,
is this the season where he goes to prison and shadow boxes a praying mantis?
Yes, this is that season.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
It's him, and then like the other big character involved is Oliva. So like that dude is also just hilarious. So yeah, very, very fun season of Baki.
Yeah, super great if you love really grotesque muscles too.
It's actually like pretty off-putting sometimes how gross it looks. Oh.
Oh, for sure. And it doesn't even hold a candle to like stuff from the manga that I've seen.
Yeah.
Where you can really get into putting all the vascularity and all the fucking ridiculous like angles that people can bend their arms at while still being super muscular.
Yeah, it's like some Junji Ito level body horror. It's actually great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I agree.
All right. So yeah, I thought 2021 was a great year for anime. It was really hard for me to limit this down to only 10, and that was without even including stuff like Attack on Titan. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's not on my list because I put it on number 1 last year because it started not last year, but 2020. Because it started in 2020, and I already put it at number 1, and we didn't get part 2 until 2022, and it's probably going to be my number 2 of 2022. So I just let 2021.
It's probably going to be your number 2 this year. What do you think is going to be number 1?
Did I say number 2? I meant number 1. Sorry.
Okay.
There's a lot of 2s in 2022, so got carried away there. Yeah. No, it'll probably be honestly, it would have been my number 3 this year. So you never know. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Yeah, so anyway, it's not on my list. I didn't include Violet Evergarden, the movie, for the same reason. That came out in Japan in 2020, even though it came out in America in 2021. That would have been real high up there. Yeah, so a few others like that. Kingdom, 3rd season started in 2020 and then got delayed because of COVID. I didn't include stuff that, was still running, like Jujutsu Kaisen. But even with all that, still very hard to limit this to only 10. So yeah, these 10 through 6 are still really strong. Number 10 is To Your Eternity. which is just a really beautiful, emotional show from the creator of Silent Voice with a very fantastical premise about a thing that is not a living creature, but can transform into things that it touches or consumes or hurts, or hurts it. And through the process of that, you kind of see it learn to become human eventually and form connections and face an incredible tragedy over and over again. Number 9 is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Season 2. This was a season that started, pretty lighthearted, like Slime is pretty good at doing. It was lots of fun, just hanging out, being slimy. And then partway through the first core, which is definitely the better of the two cores, shit got really intense and really dark and brutal and emotional, and you were really invested in the stakes, and the protagonist did some things for his friends that make him kind of questionable as a hero, and I think that makes it a lot more interesting. So yeah, I really enjoyed that season, especially that first core. My number 8 is the Heaven Officials Blessing Special. So this was one of the Chinese co-productions I got on my list this year. The series aired at the end of 2020, and these were some of the first ones that Funimation had simulcast. And I think it's part of a partnership with the Chinese streaming service Bilibili. But it's a really great, really beautiful show. It's funny, all these shows are like very BL heavy, even though that's like illegal to have in media in China. But it like just skirts that line. So, but yeah, they're really beautiful, and this was just kind of, an add-on to the season, but it was a lot of fun, and you just hang out with your beautiful boys, have a good time. And then number 7 is Odd Taxi, which is the most misleading show in the world. It looks like a fun little anthropomorphic gag comedy with a bunch of, little episodic vignettes that don't mean anything. And before very long, it becomes increasingly clear that it is not that at all. It is the opposite of that. It is a dark, gritty noir story where everything is incredibly interconnected and important, and everyone has this really dark, hidden past or agenda, and there's a lot of twists that you wouldn't expect, but they all play out really believably, and I look forward to rewatching it one day because it's going to be really interesting seeing it with the perspective of having watched the whole series. And then number 6 is Mushoku Tensei Part 2. I think both parts did air in 2021 at the very beginning and the very end, but Part 2 was definitely where it just became probably my favorite isekai anime at this point. I had been following the novels for years, and I'm still well ahead of the anime in them, but I followed it because it was a really great isekai story, really great world building, great character development, really intense emotional trauma and growth, and the events that unfold can get really harrowing, and they raise the stakes over and over in ways that you wouldn't expect, and in ways that the protagonist can't really deal with, even though your typical isekai formula that this kind of started would imply that he would be able to handle anything. So yeah, really great production values. A new studio was formed just for this and spent years in the making of it. Great direction, great music. It's a really solid production, and I hope we get more of it. I don't know how long that might take, but great 2 cores so far.
We'll definitely get more. It's just a matter of when we'll get more.
Right, yeah, because if they wanted to spend years on this initial round, then we don't want them to rush out the next bunch, but we don't want it to take forever either.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the future, just in that sense. Like, I don't know how it'll live up to this, but I won't dwell on that for too long because I'm going to be talking about it again in a second.
Right.
Do you have anything else to add before I take my 10 through 6 down.
Just real quick on just to add on to that point you made at the beginning, Kestrel, like 2021 so far has been just like so saturated with anime that I can't imagine what these lists would look like if we got to actually watch everything we wanted to see. Because like I didn't even get to see final Evangelion movie yet, and I couldn't imagine it not being on my list if I had seen it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So yeah,
that was hard not to include on my top 10.
Yeah, so it's a good little forewarning that these lists are of what we are able to have seen this last year, you know? So.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because I don't have, just as Kestrel doesn't have Attack on Titan, I don't have JoJo on my list, because I'm currently watching through it right now, so I felt like it wouldn't have been fair to put it on when I haven't even finished it, because it's been great, but I think my brother and I are only 5 or 6 episodes into it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long the season is. What, 12, 13, something like that?
Yeah, like
12 are out so far, yeah.
Yeah, so we got just halfway through it.
Yeah.
Last Friday. So.
That was another one that was hard to leave off. But yeah, I think the thing with movies especially, we usually don't get anime movies the year they come out in Japan. We got decently lucky this year. Last year, obviously, was a wash because of COVID. So there was a lot of 2020 anime that I didn't see in 2020 because they were movies. But yeah, it's getting a little bit better with like Fathom events and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, DJ, take it away.
All right. Yeah, okay, so I did include Attack on Titan in my top 10.
I expected everyone else to.
Last year.
Yeah, these rules are not solid across the board.
Yeah, no. It's up to each person.
Okay. Well, yeah, that comes in at number 10. I think it's objectively, just from a sheer quality standpoint, the best the series has been. I don't know if I'd call it my favorite because I have a soft spot in my heart for season 2. But it's definitely been really intense, and switching to the new studio turned out to be a lot less of a bad move than I thought it would be. It actually wound up being great and probably better looking than Wit stuff. There's still a few weird parts of it. I think that it chills out in the later part of the first half of the final season. But there's some really weird looking motion in the first few episodes that I guess they gave up on and then stopped being a thing. But
the rotoscoping in episode 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just like with his hands and just like, I have no idea what the fuck. It was like unsettling. But yeah, I think the only thing dragging this series down for me, and it's in no fault of the show itself, it's just I've kind of, I guess, burned out on caring about Attack on Titan as much as I used to like it. I don't know if it just stewed for so long that just the original magic never came back, but I haven't been able to get as invested in the story as I believed I would. And despite how good it is, there's still that one aspect that keeps it at the top of my, or at the bottom of my top 10, so to speak, rather than at the number 1 spot. But number 9 in a completely different genre is Bokutachi no Remake, or Remake Our Lives. It is a very real life type show about a dude who basically goes back to art school and starts redoing the failure or the failed attempt he originally had at leading a life in the art field. It sounds weird to say, but this show feels older. Like I feel like I'm watching an early 2010s anime, not in the fact that it, like, that's how it looks, but it just, I don't know. I don't normally get shows that have this same sort of tone anymore. And so it's nice finally getting to do something that's just a really focused drama, romance, coming of age thing that doesn't feel super modern. But yeah, I liked that a lot, and I want more of it because it did not leave at a good spot. But number 8 is Horimiya, which is a show I was looking forward to for years. I read the manga, and it's one of my favorite manga, probably my favorite romantic comedy manga there is. And I think that the anime adaptation was perfect. It was everything I wanted it to be, and it looked great, and the cast was awesome, and it was just so colorful and stylized, but like not in an over-the-top kind of way. The only thing keeping it at the top is that despite how well Horimiya was made, I feel like there is a limit to how good a show like this can be. And even though it's a series that I love a lot, it can't really do anything groundbreaking or just kind of pave the way for future shows or anything like that. It's just a really well-made, solid romantic comedy with a great character roster. Number 7, which we talked about with Kestrel, I have Mushoku Tensei Part 2, and it is... I think you used the word harrowing, which is probably the perfect word to describe this show. It is one of the most intense isekai series I have watched, and I don't know if I'd call it my favorite isekai because ReZero still exists, and I do like that a lot. But it has and it carries forward that same sort of tone that ReZero had, where it's like the stakes are real and the world is huge, and we are just a small, insignificant part of it. So it's nice seeing another show in that vein, and I am excited for the future of this series and how popular it's gotten. Number 6, which is a show that is not popular at all, that I don't think I know anyone else who's even watched it, and that's Kageki Shoujo, which is a series about a female acting troupe. Sort of the they act in Koka, which is basically the female equivalent of kabuki theater. So it's a female-only acting troupe, and their entire world is females, and they perform for only females, and it's just constrained to a part of the Japanese entertainment industry that I did not know existed, but it is one that is extremely interesting. And it's, at its core, a super intense character drama disguised as an acting show. And while there is a lot of acting or a lot of passion put into demonstrating the acting part of it, like you can tell the creator, like this is something they fucking know a lot about. It's at its core, you'll have the episodes focused on one character and it's their background and how they got to where they are. And it was so beautifully dark in so many parts. And I haven't really seen anything else show backstories in the way that this does, and it's just so memorable and really pretty looking. It felt kind of like a 90s shoujo series, but without all of the fawning over boys, because boys did not exist in this world. So yeah, that's Kageki Shoujo, and I definitely want more of that.
+1 for Kageki Shoujo. I actually really enjoyed that.
Awesome, yeah, finally. Right? Yeah. I'm glad that you watched it.
No one's watching. And I was like, oh, what's it going to be? I think it's funny that you mentioned that, like, you had no idea anything about, like, the Takarazuka Revue or whatever, like the whole female theater troupe, because, like, I had a similar feeling where I was like, oh, this is going in the slot of my brain of anime that introduces me to, like, niche Japanese entertainment stuff, like, you know, Rakugo and like Chihaya Furu and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, this is hitting a nerve that I just like need to hit. Yeah, it was a really fun show and very good at highlighting a lot of the rigorous and competitive bullshit that happens to women in the entertainment industry.
Yup.
I hope we get more of that as well.
All right, moving on to our top 5s. So my number 5 is another one of those Chinese co-productions on Funimation called Link Click. And I don't think I heard anyone talk about this.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, no, I think I may have seen the listing on the website I use to figure out what I'm going to watch, but I don't know anything else about it.
Yeah, so I didn't get around to it until it had already been over for a few months, and yeah, it is a really fascinating original concept. It's not based on anything. It's an original production. And basically it's about this detective agency. Now they're, high school boys, but yeah, maybe they're like 20, I don't know. But one of them can enter photographs and like return to the point in time that the photograph was taken from the perspective of the person who took it. And so he assumes their body and has control over them in that time. And the other guy can see through surveillance equipment and stuff and be able to guide him as to what to do. And they try to, uncover what happened in these situations and not change the past, because that's always a no-no. But it very quickly gets into, really, even in the first episode, there's just incredible emotion over seeing these tragedies and very human tragedies unfold and not being able to change them. And the guy who can take over other people's bodies gets some of their emotion, and he's able to empathize with them very strongly. And so, he has this motivation to want to help them, even though he's not supposed to. And just experiencing all of their emotions and the really sad things that have happened, it really affects him. The music is incredible. The direction is incredible. It has a really unique aesthetic. It gets very dark and very gripping. I think it would have been hard for me to watch it week to week because of the cliffhangers. And it starts off a little bit episodic, but it all ties together and everything becomes really important. And yeah, the drama and the mystery and the writing is all top notch. The turns that it takes as it goes along, I guess kind of like Odd Taxi, are very surprising but very rewarding for everything that it sets up to establish them. Yeah, and the ending is also kind of a cliffhanger, so hopefully we get more, especially since it's a completely original production. We never know if there's going to be more, if they even had an idea for more. But the whole thing is just takes your breath away, doesn't let up at any moment. But it's also you get your little bits of comedy in between, but they just kind of serve to juxtapose how intense the core of the series is. Also, the opening kicks ass in every way. The song and animation that goes with it, just incredible. Every time I think about this show, the song gets stuck in my head, and the visuals along with it are just perfect. So, yeah, this is the Chinese co-productions used to suck. They used to all be really bad. And this is by Howliners, who have done a lot of them over the years. And Studio Lan, who did To Be Hero and a few others. So yeah, I was kind of surprised that over the past few years, the past decade or so, Chinese co-productions, at least based on this and Heaven Official's Blessing, and there's one other one that we haven't gotten, but it's supposed to be really good. Yeah, I've just been really impressed by how much they've improved, and this is just on a completely different level than anything I expected.
Also,
yeah, it sounds like a really cool concept. Yeah, I had no idea about this thing. I did watch one of those really bad original Chinese collaboration shows, though. I can't remember which one. I think it was one about vampires or something. Yeah, it sucked.
It did.
That's all I remember, is that it was terrible.
It is exciting though that
Yep.
all these Chinese studios are finally getting breaking out into the actual mainstream and coming over here, because you mentioning To Be Hero, I thought that was a really fun show. And then I've been watching Scissor 7 on Netflix, another just really fun, fluid animation, great soundtrack. Just it's cool to see that these Chinese co-productions are actually making a dent, and people are starting to pay attention to stuff outside of just Japanese animation.
All right, DJ, how about your number 5?
My number 5 is a show called VV Fluoride Eyes Song. This was a show I watched on accident, and so I'm very happy I did, because it's definitely one of the more unique shows that I've watched in a while. It is I don't remember if it's an original series or not, but I know that it is. It is, okay. Yeah, it's a new show from Wit, and they fucking go all out. And it is absolutely beautiful and has one of the prettiest soundtracks that I've ever heard. And it's just this super intense world where it's kind of like it's like a singularity story. So AI is becoming evil, and our AI heroine has to go back through time and like make the AI less evil and start doing a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of technical shit going on that it's hard to explain because the show does it, and it's information that I cannot possibly retain. But it's super interesting and extremely action-packed, and just, I don't know, it feels like if you took Vocaloid and turned it into just a really intense drama, and I've wanted something like that. I feel like Caligula Effect from either 2 years ago or last year tried to do it, but succeeded to a much lesser extent. Vivi kind of takes that up a notch and then takes it up 10 more notches. It's extremely memorable, and I feel like I kind of put it in the same category that I put Violet Evergarden, where I have no complaints with the show, but it's almost too good. And like the fact that it's so good makes it less good, because I feel like it's just formulaically good. And I don't know if that's just me trying to convince myself to like it less or something like that. But it's I don't know why it's at 5, because it was so perfect. It's at 5 though. There's something missing. Could have been in emotional aspect to it that it didn't stick all the way. But even if it didn't stick all the way, I think it was fantastic, and I would highly implore anyone to watch it, because I feel like this is one of those anime series that even people who aren't into anime can watch this and can get into it. And a lot of that is in part to the art, and a lot of it's in part to the music, and it's just so perfect. And Wit is becoming too powerful. They do.
How is this not already on your list of things to watch?
I don't remember. It could have been just a bad promo image or something like that. There's so much shit that comes out every season that I'm like really nitpicky with what I do watch. And I think that the promo picture for Vivi was like just an eye. And so I was like, whatever. And I read it and I'm like, oh, another like future drama. And it's not a genre that I'm normally into. But it was one of the first things to come out that season, and I had nothing else to watch. So I just clicked on it. Again, it was only a picture of an eye, so I had no idea what I was watching. And after the first episode, I was like, why the fuck did I not decide to watch this? Because it was, it's one of the most intense openings to a show like this. And it's, I don't know. I don't want to say it was like, it gave me Elfen Lied vibes, but it's like that same type of, oh, you're going to front load all of the brutality and just introduce me to this really dark world where everything is out to kill me. And it does that, but it does it in a really pretty way, as pretty as massive bloodshed can be. But yeah, it's great. I feel like a lot of the series didn't measure up to that first sequence. But I mean, it's kind of hard to do that when the first sequence is that powerful.
Right. How about you, Cain? What is your number 5?
My number 5 is the eternally comfy Nanan Biori Nonstop. Yeah, this is where it started to get hard for me to really rank these as...
This was my 11. I had to cut it.
I figured. I knew you liked it a lot, but I was like, I know that it could be probably more easily cut than others, but yeah, I've been a big fan of Nanan Biori for quite some time. I went on a kick, especially maybe like I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, of just watching like a Iyashike type, like really relaxing slice of life, nothing happens at all shows. And this is the one that was at the top of the list then, and it is at the top of the list now. There's not really a whole lot to actually say about Non-Non-Biyori nonstop, mainly because it's more Non-Non-Biyori. Like, if you've watched the others, you know exactly what you're going to get, which is like Hotaru, Komari, Natsumi, and Renge all hanging out in their fucking bumfuck nowhere town, just having fun, playing games, messing around with frogs and creeks and all sorts of like country kid shit, like what I grew up with, which is one of the reasons I picked up this show in the first place. But yeah, you get just more of that, like really nice, relaxing, no drama, no tension outside of what they think are really tense moments. Like, if I remember one of the mini episodes, it's been so long, but one of the mini episodes was I think it's Natsumi puts a hole in her wall by punching it during a game, and then the whole rest of the episode is them trying to cover up the hole in the wall with other shit. Yeah, it's so real, because of course that'd be a big deal to them, but especially now as a 30-year-old, if I put a hole in my wall, I'm like, well, I guess I gotta go get drywall patch or some shit. Like, it's not nearly as big of a deal, but when you're a kid, yeah, that's a big fucking deal.
That same episode happened to me, and so I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened to me at one point. It may not have been a hole in a wall, but it was my back door of my house when I was a kid. My friend and I did something really stupid and kid-like, where he bought a bunch of throwing stars at the farmer's market. So we just stood in my backyard and threw throwing stars at my wooden back door, not thinking anyone would notice all the insanely large gashes and holes in it. And then eventually, once we put like a dozen or so in there, we realized that we had fucked up real bad. So the whole rest of the day was trying to figure out how to fill it in. And of course it didn't work and we got caught. But so I don't have an exact same moment, but it's stuff like that that makes the show really great. There's so many things in there that you can relate to, especially if you grew up in a place where, you know, you basically had to make your own fun with, you know, creeks and playing with frogs and making up your own games and stuff like that. And that's one of my favorite parts of the show. You do get a new character in Non-Non-Biyori nonstop, which she helps to kind of continue the cycle in a way, like, yeah, in that she's going to be kind of the new Renge, and that she's the youngest, and because of course everyone is getting older very slowly, Simpsons style, but everyone's getting older and graduating and moving to different schools, so they have to deal with that. And then another girl comes along that will be the new Kohai that everyone can kind of dote on and play with and things like that. So it does leave you on a nice note with that, so it isn't just a show like, oh, it's over. It's more like it does go on. Their lives do go on, despite the fact that this change is happening. And even though the change feels big, they're only going to a different school, and they're still living in the same house, like the same homes and things like that. So, yeah, I think it was 12 episodes. Every one of them is great. Made by Silverlink, I think. Yeah. I can't remember.
That sounds right.
I'd believe it. But yeah, it's fantastic to watch. And I think a really nice thing about Non-Non-Biyori too is that since there is no recurring, like, overarching storyline, it's sort of like Star Trek, where you can just put on any episode from any of the series and you'll be perfectly fine. You don't need to know shit about anybody at any time. Because it's just like, oh, I'm going to put on episode 7, and it doesn't matter what's going on because they're all just like, we're going to go out and we're going to fuck around in the woods for a while. Yay! So there's also that part too, where you can just start anywhere and basically be okay, especially because Non-Non-Biyori Repeat are like the exact same show, just slightly different. So I think that's fun. But yeah, that's my number 5. I really enjoy it. I haven't seen the vacation thing, so I haven't seen all of Non-Non-Biyori. I think there's, Biyori Repeat, Biyori Nonstop, and then like a vacation movie somewhere in there.
I was pretty heartbroken after finishing Nonstop and realizing that the manga also ended last year. So I'm pretty sure Nonstop is like the end of the manga.
It's the end.
Very sad.
Which does make that title
Yeah.
funny.
It does. But
We discussed on this podcast a class action lawsuit about the title.
oh,
Because it did in fact
Very
stop.
clearly stops.
Drew, we should sign.
It does in fact stop.
It feels weird that this show is over because it's probably the only show I've ever watched where every single season of it was exactly the same. They didn't change the formula at any point. They even kept the same. That NaNoWriMo did the opening for all 4 seasons, and all of the voice cast sung the ending, and it was just they had no reason to change anything because it was just so good the way it was. And it is like bittersweet knowing that it goes on, but we won't be there for it.
If it ain't
want
broke,
it to
don't
be
fix
over.
it.
I just want to like keep watching that group of friends for the rest of forever.
Renge getting to like act like a big sister was so adorable. I could watch a whole spin-off show
Right?
about
Yeah,
her.
that was cute.
Oh, I love it.
I'm trying to remember what like my favorite of the mini episodes would be, and it's probably from Repeat, I think, where they play like the paper football-esque
Oh, yeah.
game,
Yep.
or
That's
or
the best game.
or when they make like those dolls or
That
whatever
one was funny.
out of tape.
The Tera Bozus.
Yeah, and they waste
Rain
a
dolls.
shit. Yeah, they waste a shit ton of tape or whatever making them, and it gets really weird. But that's what you do when you got nothing to do. You make those dolls, and stuff gets kind of awkward in a sense, but not at the same time. So yeah, this one's a lot of fun while also being something you could watch intently, or you could put it on as background and you wouldn't really even kind of miss anything, which is nice in a way as well.
All right, Brandon, you're number 5.
Yep. So the only movie landing on my list at number 5 is Gintama the Final, which just barely snuck into 2021. I think in January in Japan, and then it just came over here recently. So I only saw it about like a month ago. But so I'll preface it by saying that I think this is at number 5 more so because of like my long-lasting relationship with Gintama rather than like the movie itself. Just because like Bandai Namco Pictures aren't like the greatest studio ever. Like the movie looks good, but it doesn't look amazing movie quality, and like the direction, at times is a little lacking. But like, I don't know, being able to see the end of a journey, especially one as long and emotionally invested as this one is, it just like was very cathartic to be able to see it to the end. And it did have a lot of like very emotional moments in the theater. I was like, there's maybe 1 or 2 other people in the theater, but I was not trying to hide my tears at all during any of it. So I definitely enjoyed that. And I'm glad that they were able to like wrap things up and still have some like, comedic moments before they do their final send off. But yeah, not much to say because like it is a beautiful little wrap up to the series as a whole. And yeah, I don't know. I love Gintama. I really hope that Sorachi comes back in some form with like a new series or like a spin-off series or anything, because I think he's just so funny. But seeing the end of this movie also felt like the end of an era, just because like this was the one dude in Jump that could get away with it. We talked a bit about this last week, where like he could reference Dragon Ball literally down to like the character designs and almost the names. And then how like Osomatsu came out a few years ago and literally the first episode just got deleted for trying to even do anything like that. So yeah, I felt like the end of an era, the end of the copyright infringement free era. But yeah.
This movie literally has Chala Headchala in it.
Yeah, it literally does. Yeah, the intro, it was so silly. Just like 1-for-1 Dragon Ball for like 15 minutes, probably. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I love Gintama. That's about all I gotta say about it.
Yeah. All right, on to number 4's Cain. You want to start?
Sure. My number 4 was Skate the Infinity.
Ooh, yeah.
Which may have been one of the funnest shows I've watched in a long time because of its sheer ridiculousness that it had going on. This was probably one of the shows that my brother and I look forward to the most watching every week because it just kept cranking the dial past 10 over and over again without really any desire to try and make anything be logical after a certain point. All the characters are really great between like your kind of standard Reiki and kind of Langa characters, and all the way up to where you have like Shadow, who is just like a punk kiss dude, or like of course Adam, who is definitely has done some weird fucked up shit in his life, but yeah, it was just a really cool, fun, kind of lightweight show. I remember talking about how I did appreciate that Skate tried to keep the skateboarding moves accurate in what they called them. Like, they called an ollie and a kickflip a kickflip. They didn't call it something weird like an up and down and a board flip or anything like that. They kept the terminology good, and
except for beef.
Yeah, beef.
Beef?
That's great, though. That shit's great.
Sounds like DJ wants some beef.
Yeah, it sounds like you fucking want a beef, bro. Let's have a beef together right now.
Let's have a beef together. Beautiful.
That's the best, like, kind of like terminology switch that you can use, or slang that you can make up is shit like that. So that gets a pass there totally. I also remember that Langa and Reiki particularly after a couple episodes, they aren't like incredible skateboarders in a way. Langa in particular is really bad in the beginning, which was nice to see. Like, he gets really good eventually thanks to being kind of a prodigy and having snowboard experience. But for the most part, he doesn't just like move into town and then someone like hits him in the shin with a skateboard and he immediately does a 900 with it. There is like some growing pains there. And these dudes' skateboards and their techniques are just all over the map when it comes to what they can do. You got a guy who basically is like the movie Her, but in a skateboard. You have Adam, who does like crazy like salsa flamenco stuff. And then at one point, his special move is just to clothesline you with the skateboard at like 40 miles per hour.
He can't do that.
Yeah, regulation, that works.
That's not a trick.
Dude,
it's just being mean.
That's attempted murder.
Kaoru should have been dead. Kaoru should have been straight up dead. Like, I think almost in any other world, if you're going, I think they said at one point, you go like 60 mph when you're in the downhill section. Once you get in the straightaways, you go like 56, something ridiculous. And Adam just gets off the board, somehow stops without blowing both his ACLs, and then swings the board back and crushes Kaoru's skull. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, you got Kaoru with his Siri skateboard. You have a little cat boy. Yeah, it's got a crazy set of characters that of course do that typical thing where they're all rivals, but then they're all kind of friends by the end because they've beefed with each other enough.
That will never not be funny.
No, it won't. It really won't. That's going to be great forever. But it's a really, really fun show. I believe it's pretty much self-contained in 12 episodes. Like, it doesn't really leave you any room for a sequel because all of the skateboarding happens. And then, like, the good guy's defeated or whatever by the end of it. So, it's a fun, contained little story. I don't know if it's based off anything or not.
No, it's an original.
Awesome. Always like a good original. So this is a really good one to go out and watch if you like anything sports anime related, just for the sense of it is also a giant tournament arc in a certain way, because the last like half of the series is a big old downhill tournament between all of the characters again. So you do get kind of a little tournament arcy kind of feel. as well. I cannot remember how necessarily good the animation was, but it really doesn't fucking matter. So
It was fine.
It was good, yeah. It was bones.
okay, cool. Is that even if it wasn't great, I still remember really liking it anyway. But yeah, so Skate the Infinity is great. Go out and watch it. Have a beef.
Go have yourself a beef. Bones should definitely invest in a movie. I feel like this show deserves a movie.
I would watch a movie of it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd watch like a whole nother season, but I'd definitely watch a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I would watch like some other mysterious villain comes out of the blue and challenges all of them at one time. Like, oh man, like a fucking 8-on-1 beefathon.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Literally just like
Tag team beef.
Spoof like Tony Hawk. Just be like, we got to face off against the Americans. They literally do like a Kuroko last game thing.
Joey Eagle.
I think Prince of Tennis does that. I think every sports anime eventually gets. It's like the sports anime version of Jumping the Shark is when you bring in the Americans.
So true.
All right. My number 4 is Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Entertainment District Arc. This was the first real new Demon Slayer series we've gotten since the original season 2019. We had Mugen Train as a movie, and then, they redid it as episodes, which didn't play out quite as well. But this is finally new Demon Slayer every week, brand new. And, it is back to being just as gorgeous and well-directed and well-choreographed and composited and cinematographed. Good cinematography. Good photographed. That's a word I could use. Yeah, as you would expect, amazing music. It's just, a top-notch production all around, as always. And yeah, this brings in another Hashira as one of the main characters. And the first few episodes, especially like the double-length beginning, not quite as strong in terms of the introduction to the new arc. It was more invested in the previous arc that had just ended. But once it really gets going, and especially, technically these episodes are from 2022, but the past few episodes have just been insane. Once it gets into the action, it is on a whole other level in a way that I feel like even Mugen Train never quite achieved. It's kind of getting back to that level that like the Spider arc of the Mount Natakumo arc of the original series did. So I'm very excited to see where it's headed. And yeah, Demon Slayer is great and everyone knows it. So I don't need to talk about it that much, but glad to have it back.
What's not to love about some classic shamisen shredding?
Yeah, great. And yeah, Zenitsu is bearable now, which is a great
he's
improvement.
not bad.
Well, he's been asleep half the series.
Also true.
That's what makes... Yeah? What's your point?
I want him to stay that way forever.
Even when he was awake, he wasn't as bad as in previous seasons. So.
It's his best showing, which doesn't say much. But
it shows that, he is growing. Inosuke is still fantastic all the time. There's a lot of fun with Tanjiro, and Nezuko is really getting to shine lately as well. And Uzui as the new Hashira has been very interesting, and I think he will just continue to be more and more interesting. So, yeah, I like
excited. Him a lot. I think he's a really interesting character. I even with the episodes that came out this year, though, you'd still put it at number 4. Because I feel like it didn't really start getting like really good until like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I actually made this ranking at the very end of the year.
Okay.
So those episodes hadn't aired yet. Yeah. I don't know. I really love the show, and I mean I put it at like number 1 the year that the first season came out.
Was that your number 1?
It was. It was an incorrect choice because Attack on Titan also came out that year. But for some reason, I put Demon Slayer at number 1. I guess I was just excited for some reason.
I did that with Violet Evergarden, and I've been kicking myself.
Right.
We all have our one regret.
Right. Fortunately, literally nobody but the two of us care about our rankings from previous years.
True.
But yeah, as of right now, and as of, the end of the year, yeah, I think this arc of Demon Slayer is just so exciting to finally get into new stuff, and I was really interested in seeing where it was going. I really like the whole red light district setting for demons, and how that kind of violence coincides with lust, and they're not playing around with it. Like I mentioned, One Piece is also had some stuff in a red light district, and it's a lot tamer than Demon Slayer is with it. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've always liked how this series isn't afraid to shy away from stuff like that. It's one of the cool darker shonen shows that's suddenly I feel like dark shonen is just like a new cool thing that I'm into.
Yeah. Really well produced dark shonen.
Yeah. Yeah. I will be surprised if this does not end up on my top 10 for 2022. But if no one else has anything to say, I can move on to my number 4.
Oh, I just wanted to agree with you as well, DJ, that it's not on my list either, for the main reason that it's just gotten kind of started. But yeah, I would be way more shocked if it didn't end up.
Something would have to go horribly wrong.
Or horribly right. like 9 other just earth-shatteringly good things.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
True.
Yeah, would have to come out in order to take it off at least the top 10 list somewhere. But I also wanted to say that I was glad we talked about this briefly in one of the episodes. I'm glad we did get at least another brief glimpse into Rengoku's family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't just drop him like a stone.
Thought of you when that happened.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, they didn't just drop him like a rock. Granted, that scene was 20 seconds long, maybe.
It does show
that's
that
all we needed, though.
Yeah, there's communication between Tanjiro and his brother and stuff. So yeah, they do still care, which is what matters.
Yeah, so I was glad to see that, because I do think there's some fun stuff to explore about his family in the past and fire breathing and all that shit. So I'm glad they didn't just drop it, but okay, I'm good.
Cool. All right, so my number 4 for the year is Zombieland Saga Revenge. I liked this way more than I should have. I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and in true Zombieland Saga fashion, there were several moments that were actually really emotional. And we're finally getting more background info on characters who kind of just sat on the sidelines in the first season. And it, for 12 episodes, a lot of shit happened. It was a really intense and suspenseful show, which is a strange thing to say about a series of just dead girls being idols. There's clearly a lot of thought put into this world, and I feel like it's all really worked out. The series has gotten really popular, and I know a bunch of people who have gone to Saga because of Zombieland Saga. Wow. So it's definitely working in revitalizing the prefecture. It's just the most unique idol show that I've watched, and I watch pretty much every idol show that comes out because that's just my thing. I feel like you don't have to like idols to enjoy it, because there's so much more to it than just singing and dancing. All the characters have really deep background stories, and the main male character, voiced by Mamoru Miyano, is probably I want to call it my favorite Miyano role of all, because he just kind of does whatever he wants. I feel like they didn't even give him a script. They were just like, you know what? Just do it. And he just did it. And so it's been a load of fun, just seeing how everything comes together and seeing the setbacks that these dead girls have to face from being dead and trying to not look dead. So it's just a great show. I think everyone should watch Zombieland Saga. And I know Kate would be happy to hear this as well, because she watches that show, and Kate watches nothing. So.
True.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't watch...
Probably be her number 1.
Yeah, right. Someone who doesn't watch idol shows, I feel like me really enjoying Zombieland Saga is like a testament that if you don't have to like anything about the genre at all, it's still very entertaining and funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a good time.
Yeah, and Kotaro is so freaking funny. You're right. Like, that might be my favorite Mamoru Miyano character, honestly.
It's just so over the top in every way. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it deserves my number 4 spot. It's way higher on my countdown than I thought it would be. But I'm really glad that the series is still going strong and probably even improving. And I liked season 1 a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought the CG dance scenes were way better in Revenge. I thought they looked really good.
Oh god, yeah. They looked so bad in the first season.
That's true. Like, they had a lot of room.
Yeah, like especially in the first few episodes of Zombieland Saga, the original one, I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to watch this because it's just if you guys are gonna look like that every time you perform, it will hurt
like one
me.
Of the first ones.
But it gets better, and it's getting progressively better too because they're making money. Like it's doing well as a series,
True.
so I'm glad they're putting it back into it.
Yeah, and the music that goes along with it also awesome. Really cool and unique songs every time.
Super diverse too. Like it's not just like idol shit. Like it's like, oh, you got a classic rock song this episode. No, you got like a scat song this episode.
Oh my god, I forgot about the like scat, like that song.
It's ridiculous.
All right, Brandon, how about your number 4?
All right. At my number 4 spot, I put Wonder Egg Priority. And this is an interesting one because I thought it was maybe going to be my favorite show of the year, but Cloverworks decided 2021 they were going to do their best to compete with MAPPA for the amount of shows they did each season. And, you know, they did pretty good at doing that because I think at the same time that Wonder Egg was going on, we also had Horimiya and Promised Neverland Season 2, which that last one I will never talk about ever again in my life. And Horimiya was good enough, and I thought like it was solid production all the way through. But Wonder Egg was just like so overly designed, just like so crazy. Like the animation was so crisp and insane, and of course it would end in a train wreck. I feel like it was a lot for people to get their expectations up on it and expect it to like maintain what it did, but for the most part it almost held up all the way through, which is crazy. But that's because Cloverworks had to like reach out to international and like Twitter animators and just be like, please help us like keep this afloat. So I think it's a real testament to the show is really a testament to how far the anime industry has come, in that it's not just a Japanese thing anymore. It's like there are so many international artists working on these big time shows now, and I think it's cool to see people be able to like celebrate that. But yeah, this show, oh man, I don't want to talk about the special and the ending because like it was a train wreck.
Don't talk about it because I'm going to talk about this in a second, and I didn't watch it.
Then that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
That was an intentional decision though, because I heard what people were saying, and I was like, I don't want to ruin this show.
Yeah, so, I would avoid it at all costs. It don't get me wrong, it looks great, you know. It's just like it takes everything about the show and kind of just like throws it out the window. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I mean, up until that point though, like an amazing character story. I thought like the way they tried to portray the themes through like the monsters and like the like weird egg world thing and like saving each other was just like really beautiful. And the music, of course, was also like on point throughout the whole production. It's one of those things where like it could have been my favorite show of the year if it like, I don't know, stuck the landing. But even though it didn't, you know, I still very much enjoyed like theorizing about stuff from episode to episode, and like it was really engaging almost all the way through. So yeah, beautiful show, still worth checking out. just do it the DJ way. Don't watch the special ending.
Yep.
Just like always be wondering what could have happened and then leave it at that.
You can stop after the Frill
Yeah.
episode. Like, you can just end it there and it'll be
True.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like it still deserved my 4th spot despite that. So I think that speaks to how good the show overall was.
All right. So while the rest of our numbers here, nobody had any overlap. For our number 3s, nobody didn't have any overlap. So we all shared our number 3s with someone else. So Cain and DJ, let's start with your number 3.
Dope.
Okay. I'll announce it.
Yeah.
Our number 3 is a show called Yuru Camp Season 2. I fucking love Yuru Camp. Oh my god. I was sleeping on it for so long, and I'm glad that I finally caught up with everybody so I could witness the 2nd season alongside all of the people who got to witness the 1st. And the 2nd season was fantastic. There are parts of it that I thought were a lot better than the 1st season, and there are parts of it that I thought were worse. But overall, it's still Yuru Camp. It has the same spirit of the 1st season, and it's the same girls, except we get more of Ria Takahashi's character, Enna. Yeah, Enna. We get more of her, and she is a lot more fun than I thought she was going to be. So it's just girls camping, having a good time, and being really cold, and it will make you want instant ramen. It's just a feel-good show with feel-good music, and it's super comforting. And I've decided that when I am finally allowed to go to Japan, when they let people travel there again, I am like the places that I'm going to go there. I will be visiting various locations from Yuru Camp. So, yeah,
it's probably the best Iyashikei show I've ever watched, especially if you combine both seasons together. So if you just treat the show as a whole piece, it's basically perfect because it's got everything you could ever want out of a Iyashikei show. It's got great food. Like, the food looks amazing no matter what they make. It could be cup noodles outside of a 7-Eleven or any of the like 5 or 6 hot pots they make. So the food's great. All the girls are, unique in their own ways while also having great chemistry and how they play off of each other. Especially Rin and Nadeshiko, who were the like original kind of friends, I guess you could say, from the very first one, since they're very yin yang in how they go.
Them.
But everybody just blends so well together and are supporting each other and want to hang out and do all sorts of camping, getting jobs so they can go camping. I think that's an underappreciated part of the show, actually, is that they don't just have the shit.
They work for it.
Yeah, they work for it. They work at various jobs. Like,
I love that part. Yeah.
Post office.
Because like their schedules don't always line up and they have to like do like camping trips or only like a few of them can go.
That's so relatable.
Very real.
Yeah, it's super real in that way too. Yeah, it isn't just every camping trip is amazing and perfect and all of us are here and Instagram, Snapchat.
A lot of them suck.
Yeah, some of them suck. Like the one where they camped on that like peninsula.
Yeah, all their phones died and they like almost froze to death.
Yeah, everyone thought they were dead. Yeah, which is how camping goes sometimes. I don't do a whole lot of camping anymore, but when I was on one of my more recent trips, which is basically just to a drive-in theater, our tent fucking blew down in a rainstorm while we were in it. Like, it came out of nowhere because we were in a valley between some large hills / small mountains, and it just like decimated the camping area, like standing water everywhere. No one saw it coming, and that just happens, man. So I'm glad that the show tackles that stuff too, because you can do all the preparation you want and be all excited, and then you're just fucking miserable. But
you look back on it and you smile.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know what?
We tell stories about
experience.
that all the time. Oh yeah, because we tell stories about it all the time now, just because it turns into an experience. Yeah, you were miserable at the time, but then it makes for a great story time later.
That's how the fucking when Texas lost all its power for like a week. it was the most like miserable week ever. But I look back on it now and I'm like, you know what? I would do that again.
Yeah, I'm also glad that we got more Enna as well, especially because we also got Chikawa.
Chikawa!
Yeah, we got more
best
Chikawa
dog.
because we got more Enna. But yeah, it's so enjoyable. Like, it's great. And plus, it has something a little bit for everyone. Like, I remember when we were watching it, Kestrel, you had mentioned that you really liked watching Rin camp alone. And it liked those parts better. And I like it when they're all together, though I like them both. So it isn't just a show to watch if you can reminisce on your own group of friends in a way as well. Like, Rin does a lot of stuff on her own, and so does Nadeshiko. So if you're more that personality type, this show's got shit for you too. And how to enjoy being alone, and how to, you know, be your own company and have a great time and make wonderful cup ramen and all sorts of fun shit. But yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic show. Like, I can't really think of anything bad to say about it at all. Like, even if I were to try, other than I wish there was more.
It's so rewatchable too.
It really is.
Like, it's both times that I've watched Eurocamp, I've immediately watched it again after it was over, and it was just as enjoyable. So
yeah, it's another one of those shows that's really good. It's a really good tourism tool for Japan.
Yep. It's literally guiding me. Like, I was already like, that's close to where I was planning on going, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Motos, and it's like, I'll fucking camp. I know nothing about camping, but Rin did it, and she's 14. So.
Yeah, I think we get a movie this year.
That's right. Yeah,
I think there is a movie. I don't know anything about it. I remember they did a release announcement with like one piece of art like months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might like get summer. Maybe. That's my guess. I haven't seen the art. I feel like the art would confirm that. But I feel like it can't be winter forever.
Yeah. Also, you know what else the show has, DJ? That we didn't talk about? You know what else it has? It has a handsome motorcycle mustache grandpa.
He is the grandpa.
Yeah, he is the grandpa. He teaches Rin how to camp and ride a moped. And then I think, was it season 1 where he just eats that big ass steak and shares it with
Wants some meat.
Yeah.
That's all he says in the first season.
Yeah, just want some meat.
What a man.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's like also the kind of grandpa that like loves his granddaughter. And it's just like the really sweet element like inside of the super manly exterior.
Grandpa loves two things: his granddaughter, and the road.
That's right.
Sounds exactly like the my senpai is annoying grandpa.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, he's the same character.
Damn, I'm gonna have to pick this up.
Yeah, Futaba's grandpa.
I think this season is kind of light for me. I'm only watching like 5 or 6 things, so this might be the time while it's, you know, I'm hunkered down in the cold winter. It feels like it'd be the perfect thing to watch.
Yes. The best thing to watch in the cold.
Yeah, totally. Go for it. And then you can be hype about the movie with us.
True.
You could watch Eurocamp in like 100-degree room and you will still be shivering at the end of an episode.
They do a lot of their camping in the cold, yeah. that is a theme most of the time, is it's cold or it's fall at the very least.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
Which is in some ways the best time for camping, because you get to have all the heavy coats and bundling up and sitting around a campfire, because
and nobody else is there.
Yeah, no one else is around too. You don't got to worry about anything. So yeah, definitely go out and watch this. If your season's a little light, you will not regret it. As long as you like Yashike type shows, like if you want action and drama, this is definitely not going to do it for you.
I need another Nanbiori type show in my life, you know.
Yeah, this will scratch that.
I watched them together, and I like Eurocamp in every way more. Like, they're both great. It's just like Eurocamp, there's nothing I dislike about it.
Strongly agree.
Eurocamp, you get more character development in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As well. It is more realistic in that fact, since Nananbiori, like we said, is the same show over and over again.
Yeah, Nananbiori, that's a comedy at its core, and this is more of just like a relaxing show at its core.
Yeah, it has some light comedic elements, but its sole purpose is not meant to make you laugh or anything like that.
It's like the casual comedy that you'd like have with a friend sitting around a campfire. It's like, oh, there will be a joke, and we will laugh about it, and then we will move on.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's all I got for it, DJ. If you're finished as well.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'd have to add is that I buy an unhealthy amount of merchandise for this series. So that's a thing that happens now.
Have you bought like legit like camping equipment that's like Yuru Camp?
No. I don't know if they have Yuru Camp branded camping equipment.
They should.
They should. Yeah, that would sell.
I will purchase it for my fucking trip to Lake Motos, and people will think I'm weird. If anyone's there, which, if all goes according to plan, no one will be, because that's how it was in the anime, and so obviously it's real.
Of course. Yeah.
Just go when it's like 2 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm good.
So now we have my number 3 and Brandon's number 3, and it also happens to be Cain's number 2. So, Brandon, what is that?
Spoilers.
Well, I'm combining them all because we're at the end of our number 3s and beginning of our number 2s, so we all can talk about it together.
Oh, that's fair. That's a good transition. Well, the rankings are in, and our number 3 / Kane's number 2 is Ranking of King.
Hell
So
yeah.
good.
Yeah. This dude, Boji, probably gonna be my like favorite character of the year easily. I've already wept so many tears for that little man.
Yo, if you don't like Boji, we're gonna have a beef.
Yeah, we're gonna have to beef.
Boji or
Yeah, we're
beef?
gonna have to beef hard.
Boji or beef?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boji is perfect. Chef's kiss.
They put up the Anime Award nominees today, as I mentioned, so everyone go vote for your best boy Boji.
Yeah, spam Boji votes.
Yeah.
Damn Boji. Hashtag Boji.
Spoof your IP to vote for Boji over and over.
Yeah, I want to hear what you think about it, Brandon, mainly because Kestrel and I have talked about it at least once so far.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple times, actually, yeah. So,
I can see why, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, it's like, I get this feeling watching it that it's like, I don't know how to put it. It's like the first time you're experiencing a like fairy tale or something. The show feels like the anime version of like Legend of Zelda. It's just so classic fantasy, and it like hits all those like tropes and stylistic choices like so perfectly. And it's just like the art style and the atmosphere and the sound design is all just so like warm, and yeah, it's just such a like a beautiful show. And even just like aesthetically, like I know everyone's like, oh, it looks like it's a kid's show, and they wouldn't be like completely wrong in a sense, but at the same time, like the plot of this show so far is like very, very like deep. There are so many like intricate moving parts, and it's not very clear what every character's motives are or whose side they're on or like what they're actually planning. So like I feel like with each episode there's like a new person to root for, or someone you didn't even think was going to be pertinent to the plot becomes like a driving force in it. And it's just been so engaging in not only Boji's adventure, but like the castle in general, what's happening to Daida, what's gonna happen to Queen Hilling, and like all of their underlings and stuff. But yeah, man, it's just like it's hard to describe it as anything other than magical. Just like such a like a magical show. I've been really, really loving it, and like it'll probably end up number 1 on 2022, but who knows? It's at 3 because it like we've only gotten like a taste of it. So I am so excited for whatever the second half is gonna bring us.
Yeah, definitely very rich high fantasy world. I've definitely gotten classic like JRPG or just, you know, kind of 80s 90s video game vibes in general. And yeah, it's just perpetually deepened by all the mysteries and revelations. It's just because it's such a new world and you're kind of experiencing it through Boji's eyes. Everything is new and exciting and interesting. Yeah, every character is so complex, so full of just conflicting blends of positive and negative traits. So many uncertain motivations and allegiances. There's some crazy fever dream absurdity and surrealism, and it all blends together perfectly. The production values are top notch. Wit Studio, again, just fucking kicking ass.
Dude, they can't be stopped.
I know.
Insane.
Arifumi Imai, who is like the star animator and action animation director of Wit Studio's time on Attack on Titan, is back as like the assistant director of the entire series, and he's also doing a lot of animation direction. So yeah, it looks crazy good. Yeah, that aesthetic is definitely the thing that people question when they first see it, but I think we've talked about it before. It's got these hints of storybooks, of Disney, of Tezuka, of Toriyama, of Ghibli, and it's a very unique aesthetic. It all fits kind of the magical sense of wonder that it all carries along, and as we've talked about as well, it kind of lends itself to the fluidity of the animation because, you know, you're not bound by really rigid lines and stuff like that. So, yeah. Great series.
Yeah, the character design is just my favorite part. Like, everything is great. Like, everything that you guys have said before, the morality, like, scale that everybody has, like there are no clear good and bad except for Boji, who's perfect in every way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just had to get that in there. But from like your classic, more like standard storybook, princely, handsome types like Dumbass and maybe Despa a little bit, to just like ridiculous character designs like Desha, or maybe even Bebin with his amazing chin and nose mustache combo. Or I have said this, in Kestrel and I agree, but this is a show that's got great noses. Fantastic schnozzes.
Eye out with that thing.
Yeah, Healing and Daida have just like arrows for noses.
Oh my god, I just put that together, that she literally has the power to heal, and her name is Healing.
You just put that together.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Most of the names are puns like that.
But yeah, the character design is just fantastic. Like, everybody looks wholly unique. It isn't like a bunch of palette swap characters that have different names, and it isn't too crazy for me. Like, like sometimes I don't watch One Piece, not to put it on blast, obviously, because it's amazing, I'm sure. But just like some of the character designs are a little too out there for me, where like there are people that are 600 feet tall and other people that are, 2 feet tall, and like the scale is completely all fucked up, and all sorts of stuff, which definitely has a charm. I'm not going to deny that. But this has like enough character differences in their design, even with giants like Boss, that everyone feels different without it almost going like too over the top, where it feels like they're designing characters to be really ridiculously disproportional and weird looking on purpose. Because at least at the same time, those unique character designs also have really good writing and development backing them. It isn't just, this is the joke character, see how funny they look. Everybody has their own motivations and what they believe to be is good and evil. Like, shit, I hated Daida after the first episode, which is just the show punking on me. Because now, like, especially when the episode showed up where he was going down into the basement of the castle with Miranjo and refused to drink the potion stuff because he wanted to attain strength on his own willingness and determination, I was like, that is respectable. Like, he actually believes he's doing the right things as much as he can, being like 10 years old. Like, he wants to do what's best for the kingdom and is willing to make the sacrifices to do it, as long as he feels like he's not making a shortcut or cheating. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't work out for him, but now I'm rooting for him.
Yeah,
like now I want him to
every
succeed.
Character arc in the series. You're like at the end of one episode, and you're like, "This motherfucker, I hope someone." And then the next episode, you're like, "All right."
Well, I still haven't forgiven Domas yet. He's on my shit list.
Alexander dumbass.
Yeah, he's on my shit list. Like he hasn't done enough to earn my respect yet after pushing Boji into the lava pits.
Yeah.
So
you're definitely right though that this show just keeps punking you because like I forgot if it was episode 1 or 2, but the Bebin versus Apis fight was like, first of all, it was like so cool, but like at the beginning of the show, you know, you have predispositioned beliefs about the character. You're like, oh, evil snake charmer guy versus jacked dude with a spear. Hell yeah, jacked dude with a spear, kick his ass. But then like a few episodes later, you're like, wow, Bebin has this very wholesome relationship with these snakes, and Apis is a snake, and then he betrays the queen. It's like, okay, things are flipping. I'm constantly getting punked on characters. Despa's like, yeah, he's kind of shitty, but he's also like hilarious. Oh,
I love
not
Despa.
A bad character on this show. Even though Domas is definitely like kind of cringe, there's not a bad character on this show.
I think they do a good job with portraying Domas as just like a selfish piece of shit. Like, you know, he's back in the story and it seemed like they were going to try to give him some redemption, but it's really just like him trying to train himself and not actually helping Hokuto at all. And Hokuto's like, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? So it's
like,
really...
I didn't teach you anything, but you're stronger now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's consistent with Domas sucking.
Yeah, here's a giant crossbow ballista thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Have this.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I haven't had any turnaround on him yet, as unlike everyone else. Like they punk you on healing real bad.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They get you real good on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's even Boss, who's kind of the bad guy, but not at the same time. He's mysterious. It's like, well, he did that thing that was really bad, but also he's like, he's like, I don't know. It's so hard to describe because I don't know what his motivation is. Because he does some bad things, but then he's planning for other things because he knows that people are going to try to get him. So is it like, is he good or evil? Is he just someone who's power hungry and cares about their kingdom and will do whatever it takes?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth with him a few times.
Yeah, he's gone up and down that scale constantly.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely also a cool what is the word? Like, you know how typically a giant in fantasy, you know, they're big and dumb and they don't really think. He very much flips that whole script, and like you said, he's mysterious. We still don't really know what his motivations are, or like what he's doing all this crazy demon contract stuff for. So yeah, definitely a very well written character.
Yeah, the main character that I think you could consider a 100% villain there too, maybe, is the band of criminals, the guy who looks like he's from Saint Seiya.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he just looks like a Saint Seiya villain.
Prince Oken, I think.
Yeah. Oken.
Yeah. No, he's totally out of Saint Seiya.
Yeah, he even blushes in his armor. Him, and then I guess you could say Miranjo, but we're still learning about what happened to her that made her this way.
She's becoming very sympathetic, yeah.
Yeah, so why is she doing this? And then it turns out, well, that she may have been, like, brutally tortured and killed by the same people in this kingdom, which is why she wants to destroy it, which is a completely understandable motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's like those criminals, especially the Oken, and then Rambaral.
Rambaral, yeah.
Yeah.
Apologetic Rambaral.
Apologetic Rambaral / William Murderface.
Yep, also true.
You forgot a couple murder faces.
Yeah.
It's William Murderface.
Pickles the drummer. Doodly 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 doo. But yeah, this show has been absolutely fantastic, and it would be number one on my list if one of my top shows of all time, period, didn't also air this year. But yeah, I look forward to watching this show every single week, which doesn't happen all the time. Like, I try to watch a couple shows a season, but there are very few that are like, man, when is the next episode of Boji coming out?
Yeah. My final note on Ranking of Kings is that both OPs and both EDs slap so hard. They're all so good.
Oh yeah, I really like this opening one. I like the previous one too, but I like this one a lot.
Yeah, they're so packed in the visuals and the lyrics, which I'm glad, at least on Crunchyroll, they have the lyrics for the new one now.
Funimation has them as well.
Nice. Yeah, the lyrics, they're clearly written for the show. They're very layered. The visuals are just, so much going on at all times. Yeah, I was gonna defend One Piece a little bit there when you were like, character designs a little ridiculous. Like, there's no character designs in One Piece more ridiculous than you get in Ranking of Kings. There's nobody who's just a puddle. But the size thing, the size thing's real stupid. I hate because the thing is, they're just regular humans in One Piece who are 10 feet tall for no reason. At least in Ranking of Kings, it's like, yeah, he's a giant. He's giant. That's how it works.
Yeah. Giant people are a race of people in this universe.
Right.
And apparently the women can only have one baby. So how about that?
At the very least, both Ranking of Kings and One Piece check off the silhouette box for character designs where you can notice who they are just by their silhouette. I think they both at least accomplished that.
Oh yeah, and that's a really strong point too that I enjoy. Like, I know I'm looking at Bebin.
Mm-hmm.
If I see a silhouette of Bebin, I'm not going to be confused that it's some other character, and then I'm all like, I'm lost in the episode. Like, you could line up silhouettes of Despa, Bebin, and Dorsia, and I'd be able to know which one was which.
Mm-hmm. Which is good, because Moranjo is just a silhouette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like that's maybe all we got on this particular show until next episode. So,
yeah.
Unless there's anything else, we can move on to your number 2, Brandon.
For sure. So my number 2, slightly breaking the rules here, is Attack on Titan.
No rules.
Final season, part 1. No rules. We just keep moving forward. That's how.
I put that in there too. You're not breaking the rules.
Not at all.
Yeah,
I totally expected it.
Sweet.
Yeah, all rules are self-imposed, really.
Yeah,
for real. Yeah, but this one, I mean, I had been a manga reader since maybe like the second season. So the final season's announcement was, of course, like huge. Not only for me, but like it literally, Attack on Titan breaks the internet every time it comes out. And sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Of course, there's been so much toxic discussion about like Wit versus Mappa, and like there are points to be made about certain things, but at the same time, people just gotta like let it go. There's new people working on the show, and they're doing great things in great ways that are different from the way Wit did great things in great ways with the show. I think for one, the final season's character designs and overall like atmosphere are really fitting for the more political and dark direction. I mean, it's always been dark, but like the first couple of seasons were a little bit more flashy, a little more the designs were a little brighter, and I guess I don't know how else to put it, but this is just like dark and dingy, and that's how Attack on Titan should be, just like depressing, But I really enjoyed the first part of final season just because like the writing is very strong, and it's like picking up one of my favorite narrative moments of the story. And even though the yes, they I will say they did the Yelena face so perfectly. I was waiting for that very moment to happen. But I think Mappa have done a great job with characters. I mean, all the voice actors are as good as they've ever been. What else to say? Yeah. Music, as usual, is on point. I actually, even though there's no Linked Horizon and everyone wants them, I think I forgot the name of the band who does the OP, but I thought War was like a really good OP. And then
they have some weird long name.
Yeah, right. They also did the ED for like season 2 or 3, which I really enjoyed, even though it was like kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
they make really
Attack on
weird
Titan,
music.
yeah, they do. I like remember trying to listen to them after that ED came out, and I was like, oh, this is really out there, honestly.
Yeah.
So it was surprising that they chose it for such like a high profile show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Attack on Titan, it's hype. It's like getting to what I feel like is the pinnacle of the story. And besides like some of the rough points with the animation of like the Titan specifically, I think people really need to get used to like the 3D models, because that's just how the industry works now, especially since I'm pretty sure they didn't have that much time to make the first part of final season. And if you saw any of the pictures of like the director and like the just sunken blackness of his eyes, these guys probably did not have too much time to make this. So for what it's worth, I think they were making something amazing. And from what the 2 episodes of part 2 that have been out, I think it's only going to continue to get better. And I think Mappa have really found a good production lane for what Attack on Titan should feel like. And I think final season part 1 did it all about as best as it could have. So yeah.
Yeah. Man, I just want to talk about Attack on Titan all the time.
Right. That's the thing. It's hard to talk about because it's like it's a show that's inherently full of spoilers when you're talking about it. So it's just like can't say too much, especially because like I want to talk about what's coming, and there's just so much good stuff coming. So I'm just super excited for it being back and having that weekly. See, this is what I said was the problem with JoJo, is that I got to enjoy Stone Ocean for about a week before no one talked about it anymore. Whereas now I get a weekly dose of everyone just being hype as hell.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week when we thought we were going to record. Attack on Titan is not a show that I could ever watch for the first time binging. I absolutely need a week in between each episode. I review it. I talk about it with all my friends all week. I think about it all week. It's just, there's just so much to unpack all the time. And yeah, I love binging it after the fact. But that initial watch, I just so need that week in between.
Yeah, definitely. And there's just like that's the thing, even the manga was like built on cliffhangers because it was a monthly release. So they really had to egg you on and be like, oh, did someone just die? Maybe you'll find out in a month. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. My number 2 is Gintama the Final. So yeah, like Brandon mentioned about its status as a movie. So I did like a top 10 movies of 2021, and the Evangelion movie was significantly higher than this movie, because that is a movie, and this is Gintama episode 368, and I got to see it in a movie theater, and that's neat, but it is just the end of the series, and I love the series, as everyone knows. I have been talking about it forever, and I'm very happy to have someone else who actually watches it, but it was, on my top 10 anime of all time, and a month later, I finally got to see it conclude after years of no Gintama. And yeah, it was everything I could have hoped for the ending. It is an interesting series in that it went so much of its time basically just being a comedy, and then started to inject serious arcs here and there, and then for the last 70 episodes, except for one little side story season, it's basically just been one continuous plot that used everything that came before it to build upon itself and tell a really great Shonen Jump kind of story, with a lot of things that are, more mature even than a lot of others, and still managed to inject its signature humor in ways that it didn't seem like you should be able to do seamlessly. but Gintama just has the perfect balance, and this movie concluded all that and continued all that, and is very consistent in, the comedy that we've known and loved from Gintama for the past 15 years of anime, and some great action, some great dramatic and emotional storytelling, and a really satisfying, cathartic ending to this really extended story arc that's been running for, dozens of episodes over many seasons, over many years. So yeah, I'm very excited that, it's rough that Gintama is over, but I'm really glad that it got an ending, and especially with how long that arc or those series of arcs was going. I'm glad that it stuck the ending, and the anime was just so fantastic all the way through. We got a short theatrical release that I got to experience, and we're actually getting this one on Blu-ray, which is awesome. So yeah, very happy with Gintama the Final all around.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know if we would get the final movie here, just because, I don't know, no one has licensed the manga here in over a decade. Just we
didn't get the previous movie.
Something... What was that? Sorry.
We didn't get the previous movie.
Oh yeah, you're right. We didn't even get the other movie. Yeah. Yeah,
Still
I
waiting on
figured
that.
it was given up on.
Same, yeah.
I'm hoping enough people saw the final that maybe Viz or someone picks it up or a re-release, but no. Seems like a stretch.
Yeah, I've kind of given up on the manga, but yeah, for the anime, it seems like Crunchyroll has most of the rights to most of it, but it's been all over the place, shuffled hands so many times. You've got the Sentai DVDs of the first 49 episodes, then their dubbed Blu-ray upscaled release of the first compilation movie, and then Crunchyroll and Funimation's Ocean dubbed release of the third or fourth season, which is hundreds of episodes later, and now you've got this movie that ends the whole series that's released by 11 Arts and Shout Factory that has this weird hybrid dub of the Ocean cast and the Sentai cast and some new ones. Oh yeah, and then the entire first season got dubbed by some weird non-English speakers or non-professionals in Florida, and that was put up on Hulu with no announcement or anything. So yeah,
wow.
Series has been a mess. Don't do it.
That sounds intriguing.
But they did all 201 episodes. It's crazy for no release. It was just thrown up on Hulu. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, hopefully Crunchyroll and one of their partners, probably Funimation, can release the whole series on Blu-ray one of these days, or 11 Arts can at least license that other movie, since at least you can watch the whole series legally. Yeah, it's a mess, but this final movie was, essential, so I'm really glad that it actually got picked up. All right.
Okay.
DJ,
are we
your
ready
number 2?
for my number 2? Is a show that we touched on 20-30 minutes ago that I'll actually get to talk more at length about now, and that is Wonder Egg Priority. As mentioned previously, I did not watch the true final episode of this show after hearing zero good things about it from all of the people who did watch it. And so I will remain in blissful ignorance for the rest of eternity, thinking that Wonder Egg ended where it ended, which was
you lucky dog.
Right before their delay. So this, and you're going to be noticing some recurring themes between my number 2 and my number 1. This is a show that is essentially centered around mental health and trauma, which are 2 of my favorite topics in anime when done correctly. This is probably the best that I have seen it done. It deals with a large array of real issues in a way that isn't... it's overly in your face, but it's not overly in your face in a tasteless sort of way. It spares, or it pulls no punches in showing you what is plaguing all of these girls and what they essentially have to do to overcome it. And on top of that, they're all attempting to deal with death or loss or grief in a different way on top of whatever trauma is plaguing them. And it is a battle anime as well, which is another interesting thing to add to the fray of psychological trauma. So we've got something that is really reminiscent of Madoka Magica in the sense that it is girls, essentially magical girl battling, but that's not what it's about. It's really just a way to sort of, I guess, symbolize inner struggle and what people have to do to overcome what ails them in real life. There is a clear detachment between the characters when they go into this alternate world where everything's like brightly colored and there are these little monsters running around, and then they go back to real life where it's really somber and none of them really have any friends. And so you've got this group of girls that sort of start to confide in each other, and the only thing that keeps them together is that they all share the fact that they're troubled, and that's just the thing that ties them all together. And it's just a really intimate journey that gives ample time to all four of them and sort of shows us in not an easy way what they have to do to deal with their troubles. And it was done so well. And the craziest part about it is that the director, this is the first full-length series he's ever directed. And I think that that is a really big deal for how much of an impact this show makes. To my knowledge, the only other thing that he's actually directed was not the actual series, but a series of ONAs for 22/7, which is another show when that came out where I talked about like, wow, they actually deal with trauma in a way that is believable and powerful and it hurts. And so I think that this director, if he just keeps focusing on this one means of telling stories, that there are even better things to come from him. Because Wonder Egg, even with its shortcomings and with the special that was apparently just the thing that shouldn't exist, I think that this show is not only extremely unique, but extremely important. And it's something that I'm going to remember for a long time.
Who was your favorite character, DJ?
I liked Rika. I could relate to her a lot, and I feel like she just, I don't know, it was probably the personal connection that I had with her that maybe made me feel that way, but I also have a huge soft spot for Shuka Saito, and so combining those two things, it was like there was no way I wasn't going to love that character. I think her design was awesome as well. And I just I liked everybody though. Like,
yeah.
I think the best character, the one that wasn't my favorite, was probably Momoe. I feel like she was really strong and she dealt with a really unique issue that doesn't get touched on often. And I just liked her a lot more than I ever thought I would when she was introduced.
Yeah, I'm glad that they all kind of brought something different to the table about how people deal with their traumas and stuff. It was very interesting to see all of their dynamics bounce off of each other, and I thought the dialogues were like, not only the dialogue, but like the intricate movements that each of them make when they're saying things. This was so well made.
Yeah, I in particular, they're like the first episode of that show, she has all of these mannerisms where you can tell that there's something. You don't know what it is, but she doesn't act the way that someone would be expected to act. She does all these little things. She focuses on these things that most people wouldn't focus on. And I mean, it's not like they come out and be like, oh, this is the quote unquote problem with this character. It leaves everything up to interpretation. And even if they throw stuff in your face a lot of the time, there's still a lot more in the background that they're not throwing at you. And her in particular, I thought she was incredibly real. And I feel like a an unreal amount of care must have been put into that character's creation.
Yeah, and just like the design in general, just like perfect. It's like it's like the colors and everything, like the hoodie, like it just all like it's so eye capturing.
Yep. Eye capturing.
I totally did.
Yeah, the colors in this show were fucking wild in general. It has like one of the most intense color palettes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just fucking unreal how good this was at its peak, though, and it's disheartening hearing how the ending spoiled things for people. I have been spoiled in the past for shows that I've loved where just one thing happens. It's like, oh, okay, well, everything else is out the window. So I am glad that I saved myself that.
Yeah.
But in a sense, I feel like even if I did watch the special, I doubt it would have ruined everything else about this show, since there was so much that I personally connected with and so much that I feel could help other people if they actually saw it. Like it's one of the most original series I've ever seen. And we need more stuff that is this level of creative. I want people to do ridiculous shit. And this, despite how focused it was at points, is ridiculous shit. Everything about this shouldn't have worked, but it worked so well. And it's equal parts to the director, equal parts to the art, equal parts to the animation. Everything about this was fantastic. And I love it.
That made me think of something else I meant to mention about Odd Taxi, which is that neither the director or the writer of that had ever worked on anything in any capacity before, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's how you get interesting shit. It's like people that haven't done this before just doing what they think they're supposed to do. And since that's something that's not really trained or something that anyone else has done, you get cool stuff like Wonder Egg or Odd Taxi, where it's like, oh, this has definitely not been done. So.
Yeah.
Or you have the case where they don't know how to make anime and they try, and then X-Arm happens. But you're right though. Yeah, I thought like the Odd Taxi people, like they had worked on a commercial before, and that was like about all the like animated experience they had on the staff. Like what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. That was a big. I don't want to talk about that show again too much, but they weren't expecting anything from that show. They weren't going to have a home video release for it, and they were like, maybe if we get a few hundred pre-orders. And then they got thousands and thousands. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Great.
Love seeing stuff like that work out.
Yeah. All right. So, I assume all of our number one is X-Arm, but just in case, we can... I'm kidding. Brandon, tell us why your number one is The Promised Neverland Season 2.
Oh, yeah, baby. You know it. Definitely the best adaptation I've ever seen. Like, didn't even have to read like 8 volumes of manga. They just were like, here's a slideshow, bro. You're good. Welcome to the content.
I really
farm.
liked the first 2 episodes of that season.
Dude, no, I think I gave it like a 3 out of 10 on Mal, because it's like there were 3 episodes that were good, and then they were like, let's go somewhere else. But yeah, okay, but this isn't about that though. we're at the number 1 spot now. Do we want to do like a quick little like what our other ones were, or let's just rip the Band-Aid off and go?
I don't have a list of my other ones. I had No Known Biori and Nagatoro. Those are the ones that didn't make my list.
True. I guess I'll just say real quick. I had honorable mentions. Vivi was on there. I know earlier we had like mine was 11 on that spot. I think Vivi was probably my 11. Dynazenon, another awesome show, great tokusatsu inspired show. And then 86, one of the few light novel shows I actually really enjoyed. But yeah, so going into number 1, I know that Kestrel and DJ earlier said they've had previous regrets, so hopefully this year there's no regrets. You can get through here with no regrets. But my number 1 pick for 2021 was Sunny Boy. And
yeah! Oh, hell yeah! I love that number 1 pick.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm really happy.
Yeah,
Okay, go.
There you go. I was just gonna say, tailing off of your comment about original anime and needing to support that stuff, Wonder Egg is amazing because it was original and had so many cool ideas. And I gotta say the same thing about Sunny Boy. So, from the mind of Shingo Natsume, who has been a veteran animator for a very long time. He's worked on Full Metal Alchemist, Gurren Lagann, Space Dandy, One Punch Man. But this was like his directorial debut with Studio Madhouse, who they've been longtime collaborators. And the best way for me to put Sunny Boy is it's part supernatural character expose and part surreal social experiment. It's like if Lost and Lord of the Flies and The Drifting Classroom took a tab of acid and became an anime. It's like so many crazy things.
That is a really good analogy.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love this show from front to back. It's so it does everything like you would expect an original to do, which is like nothing that you expect, because it forgoes having a soundtrack to, pronounce the sound design. There's no monologues between the characters. It's all dialogue and just interpretation. The art style it's like flat, but it's so bountiful in color and direction that it's just like one of the most like uniquely presented animes I saw last year, besides like Heike Monogatari. But yeah, it was just such a ride, and it had so many nice, like, amazing things to say. And the story just like flips itself about halfway or like 3/4 of the way through, and it feels like that could have been like the end, and it would have been like an insane conclusion. They like just keep pushing the bill, keep like fighting for these like crazy original ideas about like I said, it's a social experiment, and like outgrouping and all these like dynamics between individuals, especially in like the high school coming of age like age group. But man, Sunny Boy was just such a ride. It's hard to even like talk about like individual episodes or anything, because like so many things happen, and like it's just so visually stimulating that it's hard to remember specific things, because it's just like all just flying past you and inching by you at the same time. It's a very surreal experience, and I feel like usually my top anime of the year usually end up being stuff like this, and it makes me very happy that Natsume will be directing the Tatami Galaxy follow-up, because that is like exactly what the feelings I got watching Sunny Boy reminded me of when I first watched Tatami Galaxy. But yeah, Sunny Boy is my number one.
I love that pick, because this was another show where I like wanted to put it in, but there was something that just kept it out. And it's such a cool fucking show, and it like hurt me, but I can't really describe why or how it hurt me. There was just, throughout all of Sunny Boy, there was just like this, I guess, longing permeating in me, and it's like I want something, and it kind of flaunts that in front of you, because that's what the main character wants as well, and he's always trying to get this one thing. And I'm not gonna like ruin the ending, even though it's a very open ending. But sometimes you don't get what you want, and it's a really intense show. And I love that you talked about it after I talked about Wonder Egg, because this is another one where it's like, oh, it's clearly one dude's vision. He just did what he wanted to do, and it worked so well for Sunny Boy. And I would love for more people to watch this. And I'm also really happy that I got to hear Gingnam Boys do the ending, because I have listened to them for years, and I never thought that I'd hear them in an anime.
The one thing that show deserved was like an actual ending animation for the song because it's just so good. But
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a great song. I feel like it worked with just the scrolling credits, though.
That's true. It is an amazing song.
Yeah, I mean, like the rest of the show is so minimalist.
Exactly,
like you don't
yeah.
like here's just like a black background and music. Like
Right,
you don't need anything else.
There's
it's
no
in your head.
There's no opening at all. There's no score.
It kind of did go with the themes of like the cinematography and like the like director guy or whatever. I guess it goes pretty well with the theme. But I like that you mentioned also that it's such a good show despite it's not like the ending isn't bad, it's just unsatisfying, and it's okay for that, because I just recently, this is a little bit adjacent to this, but I just recently got through The Sopranos over the last year, and that show is full of anticlimax, and it got to a point where it was like perfected that like character arcs don't necessarily have a happy ending or like where they want to be by the end of it, but it's still like very fulfilling and thought-provoking. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that the ending was that.
What are you talking about?
But yeah, Sonny Boy, original anime.
I will mention it. Yeah, it's not Shingo Natsume's directorial debut. He did direct the first season of One Punch Man and Aka at Madhouse. Yeah. Yeah, he was really well known for One Punch Man, and he also was like the director of Space Dandy. Watanabe was like the chief director, but by the second season, Watanabe was doing Terror and Resonance at the same time, so Shingo Natsume was probably, doing most of the work there for Space Dandy.
How was he making both of those shows?
Yeah, I think
crazy.
For Space Dandy, he kind of just like set the stage and then let Natsume and all their animator buddies just come on and each have an episode and stuff.
That's true. It was like a playground.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this was definitely, his first original, the first time he wrote anything, and he wrote the entire thing. It was just, entirely his vision. Directed the entire thing, wrote the entire thing, not adapted from anything. So yeah, I can't think of another like TV anime that is more one person's vision in recent memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
I wish more people watched Aka.
Dude, Aka was so good.
I really liked it. It was a great spy/cake eating simulation.
I think you just like pointy noses.
I really do have a thing for pointy anime noses. That's true. Pointy anime noses and snake-like faces.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, DJ.
Hold right here. I have to go to the bathroom really quick. I'm sorry.
Oh, we could do Cain's number one first if nobody has anything else to say.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about it either, since I talked about it in great detail previously.
Well, I'll be right back.
So, yeah. But we'll just jump to mine then. But my number one is Life Lessons with Urumichi Onisan.
Ooh, interesting.
Which is also one of my favorite anime of all time, which is where we talked about it a lot. I wasn't expecting it to be that way either. I think it just hit me at like the perfect time in my life because I relate to almost every situation, even though I work in IT and not on a TV show. But so much of it is relatable to me, and I just love all of the jokes. Like, I talked about this when we were doing our favorites of all time, but like I think about gags and jokes from Urumichi Onisan every day, especially every time I look at my cat and I think of the song "Why Is the Cat Staring at the Corner Again?" that they sang. But just there's so many like great gags that it has just enough like dark humor to be funny and make you think a little bit about your life without making you feel sad about it. Like, I think some shows go, like, it's not bad, but some dark comedies and stuff will take it really far until it becomes, like, a legitimate, like, psychological drama, which, when I'm watching Onisan, that's not necessarily what I want. It isn't, like, a laugh, riot, gag stuff all the time. Like, there is some stuff about Urumichi feeling, like, stuck and depressed and things like that, but that's handled a little less seriously in a way. Like, we don't have a whole episode where it's just him thinking about like jumping in front of a train followed by like several jokes. Like, it doesn't try to do too much in terms of that, but just like the gags of them not knowing what their dads look like because it's been so long since they've seen them since they moved out, or the cat joke, or Uramichi constantly joking about his alcoholism all the time. And all the kids too. The kids are a great part of it because they point out how pathetic Uramichi is sometimes and how sad everybody is. Or like Utano's existential dread at not ever being able to find a boyfriend and things like that. Like, there's
he
parts
had
of
one. He sucked.
That's true. I think it was marrying. Maybe it wasn't a boyfriend, but it was just marrying someone. Yeah, and he was a fucking loser. But yeah, I think one of my favorite characters was introduced later, and that was the merchandise guy who was also a psychopath.
Oh yeah.
Like, he would be really nice, and then the second something came up that like inconvenienced him, he turned to a psychopath, which is exactly how a lot of IT runs. Which is, they're great until they get that one email to reset someone's password again, and then shit just goes off the rails. But yeah, I absolutely love this show. I still like laugh about it and think about it, and I could pick up and watch any of the episodes. The one where they filmed the beach episode in the middle of the winter because they didn't want to spend the money, so they're out on the beach doing all the beach fun water gun fights, but it's like 0 degrees Celsius.
And they do the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's absolutely like I just love the show. And all of the characters and things like that. And you do get those little twinges of Uramichi maybe finding a little bit of purpose when he has like a more one-to-one experience with one of the kids from the show, when they tell him like, hey, I love watching your show and you're great and you're one of my best friends. And they always give you that little bit of humanization to make them actual characters and not just props for jokes. Like, not all the characters get that, but like your main ones like Uramichi and Iketeru and all that, they have their little elements every once in a while that's like, oh yeah, these are people that are just trying to live their lives while being stuck in what are essentially dead-end jobs. These like children's shows that clearly are like as corporate run as anything. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It does for me what I wish fucking the Netflix anime with the cute animals that are also in dead end jobs. Yeah, I do not like where Agretzko went. Like, I really didn't like it. Like, I haven't watched any of the third season because I didn't like how the second season turned into Agretzko almost getting murdered in the street. Like, that's way too far. Like, the first season
sounds like Odd Taxi.
Literally.
At least Odd Taxi does Odd Taxi try to like convince you it's a fun little comedy about people in jobs they don't like?
Not really.
Because that's what Agretzko does.
There's idle stuff, though.
Yeah, but that second season of Agretzko is like, this is getting way too serious for why I watch this show. Like,
yeah, you can't pull that in season 2 of a show. Like, episode 2, maybe.
Yeah, but the whole season culminating with like her being stalked and then almost murdered and all that stuff, I was like, this is too much for cute animals. Can I please have more of just her complaining about her boss being a sexist pig while screaming death metal lyrics? Or whatever. That's what I want the show for. And Uramichi scratches that itch in that, yeah, they're in dead-end jobs and they're all kind of depressed or whatever, but yeah, it doesn't take it as far as to, I'm not gonna sit here for an episode and watch Uramichi eat 60 sleeping pills. Or whatever. Like, it's not gonna take you that far.
It's like 5 minutes of self-deprecating humor, and then there's Iketeru trying not to laugh his ass off at a dick joke.
Yeah, at the guy in the grocery store saying, this sausage is big, or whatever, to lighten it up. Yeah, exactly. Like, it balances that stuff, and that's what makes it good. And I could always watch more of it or rewatch it. I want to read the manga too, because the manga looks like it has a lot of good like gags, because Uramichi looks even more like a serpent, which works for me. But yeah, so this is my number one show of the year, and I honestly can't remember where I put it in my favorite of all time, but it was definitely, I think, in the top 3, if not like number 2 or 1.
Damn. I praise.
Yeah, that's how much I really like it. Yeah, that's how much I really enjoyed
I gotta
it.
say, the strongest part about the show for me is definitely the voice cast. That's just like a star-studded group of people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd believe that. Everyone was performed really well.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, definitely helped you believing them. Because, yeah, the performances were all great.
You put it at number 9, Cain.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was somewhere, but when I make these lists, I tend to forget where I put stuff because at any given time, I could probably shuffle that list around and it would still be pretty accurate. Just, I have a hard time ranking things, but...
Except Kings.
Yeah, well, Boji.
Duh.
Yeah, duh. So yeah, that's my number 1, Uramichi Onisan.
All right, DJ.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So my number 1, which I elect wholeheartedly, and I know that some people will dislike my choice, but I will defend it with my life, is Magia Records Season 2, which I will say now is one of the best anime ever. It was so fucking good. Like, okay, after much deliberation, I have come to terms with why people were turned off by the first season. Anyone who made it to this season in particular and didn't like this one is just wrong, because it was just so good in every way. It is one of, if not the most artistic thing I have ever seen from Shaft. And I only say it might be because F exists, and that's another series I rave about. But just the way that this is put together is so fucking... It's like watching a painting, but like the painting's constantly moving. It's one of the best animated shows I've seen. The acting is ridiculous. The characters are phenomenal. I think Yachio is the best character in all of Madoka, and it just is entirely centered around her now. It's her plight, and it is also the culmination of the original Madoka universe finally merging into this one, so you have the pinnacle of the story where both worlds collide, and it's just this huge, big fucking deal where it's like the end of the world, but not really. It's just like everyone is feeling the stakes at every moment, and there is no breathing room at all, and it's just so fucking good, and I want more people to talk to it besides Alan, or talk to it about, but it's just, oh my god, I probably sound insane for like the people who dropped it after season 1, but it really is just so fantastic, and I had zero complaints with it. And you know, there are a lot of years where I'm like, I look at my number 1 and I'm like, might regret this. Not this time. No, there's no way. Nothing else touched Magia Records Season 2, and we are getting the final part of it next season, which could very well be my number 1 for 2022 if it's anywhere even close to as good as Season 2 was. It was just such a well-made show, and it was Shaft at the top of their game, and I will watch it a million more times because it's so perfect.
I have a quick question. If
Sure.
I've seen the original Madoka Magica and the third movie and nothing else, is this... Where does this follow? Is this like, can I watch this right after the original?
No. Well, you definitely can't watch this before watching the first season, because it's a direct continuation of the first season. But the first season is kind of an alternate universe / side story of the Madoka story, where the girls from the original series are there, but they are dealing with their own thing in the background, and you focus on the new city instead, where all of the witches are being pulled there for reasons that get explained. But basically, all the magical girls have to start migrating to this one area if they want to stay alive. And that is what basically the second season is just all about that happening. The first season setup, this is bad shit's happening and the stakes are real, and go. And it just goes.
So Magical Girl Battle Royale?
kind of. There are opposing factions where there are some girls who think that the best course of action is kind of just like hard resetting all of the magical girls and essentially killing them all. And that's where the original girls come into play, because Mommy is part of that. And so everyone else is trying to sort of pull her back. And there are girls from the Magia Record franchise that are moving to the other side as well. And it's a whole bunch of just like, we have to rescue our friends, but it's Madoka, so it's a lot darker and deeper than that. It's tonally a lot different from the original Madoka series, but at its heart, there's still the same darkness. There's still the same intense focus on psychological issues that the original series had. It just feels a little different, and in my opinion, it feels better. I have decided that I like this more, and I will probably stick to that after the third and final season is complete.
Right. Anything else on that one?
No.
Cool. All right. My number one. Oh, I guess I can list some of my runners up. So Slime Season 2 Part 2, I kind of count that separately because it is a very different arc and very different tone. So that would have been like number 11. Number 12 would have been Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01 Thrice Upon a Time. Number 13 would have been JoJo Stone Ocean. So, yeah. Those are the three that I wish I could have included in my top 10, but it was a very strong year, even excluding things like Attack on Titan. But my number one is another anime that was on my top 10 anime of all time, and specifically it was there because of this season that aired in 2021, and that is Fruits Basket the Final. That does mean that both my number one and number two end with the final. And if I had Attack on Titan in there, I would have had the final, and the final season as my number 1, 2, and 3. Anyway, Fruits Basket is an incredible emotional drama about characters that feel human and relatable in a way that I've never really experienced before, especially in anime. And, with like stuff like Attack on Titan, it's such heightened stakes. These are things that humans really go through in wartime and terrible tragedy and genocide. In Fruits Basket, there are high stakes, there are fantastical elements, there's legitimate trauma that some of these characters have endured in their past. But a lot of what it focuses on in the characters' minds are things that everyone deals with, just simple little neuroses, insecurities, stuff like that. That are very relatable and very real and well realized. And every character, there's so many characters in the show, and a good 15 to 20 of them all just get so much focus and attention and depth that you almost never see in a big ensemble cast like that. So it has some of it's by far my favorite shoujo series of any type. It has some of my favorite characters. Toru and Yuki are definitely, my favorite characters in any shoujo material, and some of my favorite characters in anime in general. And yeah, I see a lot of myself in these characters. I see a lot of my friends and people that I've known and have been close to, and just a lot of the things that we just kind of struggle with, even if there's no obvious reason. Like a big theme of the series is just people not being able to see themselves as other people see them, and the idea that if they could, then they would, have a much happier life. And they only see themselves in the things that they do wrong, or the things that other people have that they don't have, at least as they perceive it. And then, yeah, I think Toru is an extremely complex character with a lot of baggage, and because she does so much to help so many other people, I think that she kind of becomes this emotional martyr by her own design, and I think she doesn't get as happy of a conclusion in a lot of ways as she deserves, because so much time is dedicated to her helping so many other people. And I think that's a really real resolution to have. There are a lot of happy things about the ending, but not everything gets wrapped up. These insecurities are things that define us as people, even if they suck. And that can't just be brushed away. It's always going to be part of your character. It's just learning to live with them and, kind of complement each other and find the ways that you can fill in the gaps that other people are missing and need you to be there to support them. So I think it's a really beautiful story, and I think it was a perfect conclusion. And yeah, one of my favorites of all time.
That's one of those that I feel like it's like if I didn't watch it back when it was originally coming out, just like I missed the boat. I don't know if I could like watch it now from the beginning and extract the same amount of joy as everyone who has been there has, but who knows? I would always tell people that like they should watch Gintama now to like get to the end of it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I watched all of Fruits Basket. It was when the final season was airing, so we caught up. I watched it all as it aired originally, but I watched it all again while the final season was airing with my wife, and it became one of her favorite of all time as well. Binging almost the entire series and only catching up for the last few episodes. So, yeah, strong precedent for that binge model as well.
Okay.
And it does, I think, because of now I'm like rewatching it with her as well as with my mom, because my mom watches a bunch of anime. In case anyone didn't know that, so we've just finished the first season, and both my wife and I had read the manga before, but it had been a few years. But her especially, rewatching it from the beginning after seeing how the relationships end up, because it's not the way that you would expect from where the series starts. You get a very different perspective on how everyone relates to each other and how they view each other, because it's not as clear cut as like, a love triangle or a harem or anything like that. It's much more complex, and the way that shakes out and how people ultimately end up really informs the way that you rewatch the series.
Is it the end, or is there like a movie coming out to end?
No. Well, there is like a prequel movie coming out, but this is absolutely the end of the story. Yeah, highly recommended. All right. As I always do at the end of these ranking episodes, I have aggregated our lists together to form our master list. So for that list, we have a four-way tie at number 5, because none of our number ones were anywhere on anyone else's list. So with 10 points is all of our number ones. And then at number 4, with 15 points, we have Gintama the Final. At number 3, with 16 points, Yudu Camp Season 2. At number 2, also with 16 points, but with a higher rank up there, is Wonder Egg Priority. And then number 1, by quite a large margin, 25 points, Ranking of Kings.
Hey, Pochi, let's go.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
No surprise.
Oh.
Yep. And Kate has informed us that she has began watching Ranking of Kings, and she likes it as much as we knew that she would like it. So all's right with the world.
Yeah, she had a fun description of it, which didn't she say something along the lines of like, it's like an anime from the 80s that somebody lost?
Is that what she said?
Yeah, she said something like that.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely has that kind of classic appeal. Cool. Well, unless anyone has anything else to comment on lists or rankings as they went down, we can wrap this up.
Let's
Nothing
leave
here.
2021 behind. Let's get it out of here. 2022 time.
Yeah, if I were to pick a unlimited like version of an honorable mention, it doesn't follow any of the rules but anyone ever set, even like myself. But I would say the Project Echo Blu-ray, because that shit is amazing, and the way and all the story behind it getting made is also incredible. Like, it's a miracle that it's even available after reading the story about it, and I got to watch it, and it looks incredible. So it's a new to me one, and also new to a lot of people because it had been so hard to find or even have in any way, shape, or form, like in a physical media. And then it came out in a Blu-ray that's based off of, I think, like the original film.
Yeah.
And everything, when they were originally going to do like pseudo AI upscaling.
Yeah.
And then someone was just like, I found the film in this library, you should have just asked.
Wow.
Yeah, you can hear Justin Savakis talk about that a little bit on an earlier episode of this podcast from last year.
Yeah, so that's an incredible story in piece. So that would be like an honorable mention in terms of like just releases in general, since it's a miracle. But yeah, so
Shouts out Discotech.
Yep. There were no rules, but that certainly breaks the rules.
Yeah.
All right. You can find the podcast everywhere you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon Music, Facebook Podcasts, and fandompost.com. You can follow us, share our stuff, and get in contact with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Fandom Post Radio. And you can also get in contact with us via email at fandompostradio@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. You can read my weekly reviews of Attack on Titan, the final season, part 2. And I have them all linked as they get posted in my Twitter as well, so check that out.
You can find me on Twitter at DJ No Style. You can find my video game on Patreon at patreon.com/lessonsinlove.
I write weekly for the Fandom Post as well. I've been reviewing Lupin the Third Part 6, as well as Mashal, Magic and Muscles, weekly Shonen Jump releases. Besides that, find me on socials at HellShakeBrando, on Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, YouTube, Twitch. I'm fucking everywhere. Okay.
And I'm only here to be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Love it.
Nice. Well, everyone, thanks for joining. We'll be back hopefully in the next few weeks to talk about this fairly light but still somewhat eventful new winter season. And until then, see ya.
Bye
Adios.
bye.